is a world-renowned neurosurgeon who made medical history by being the first to successfully separate Siamese, conjoined by the head, twins. Although struggling early in life, Ben Carson was able to discover the importance of his education through the strict rules that were set by his mother. This helped him to become a successful person in life. You may be wondering what I mean when I say successful. By successful, I mean that Ben Carson is to neurosurgery and neuroscience as Mount Everest is to the world. He's at the top. He's at the top of the field. Throughout, I will be discussing Ben Carson's development through his childhood, college and medical school, and then becoming a neurosurgeon. To begin, I'll start with childhood. To set the background, his parents were divorced when he was only 8 years old. His mother was left to raise both him and his older brother, Curtis. According to the Encyclopedia of World Biography, his mom was forced to work 2 and at sometimes 3 jobs just to support the family. In the 5th grade, now dealing with education, he was at the bottom of his class. His mom limited his television and refused to let him go outside until improvements were made. She required both children, both him and Curtis, to read 2 books each week and give a written report on them. However, not to his knowledge at the time, his mom was unable to read the reports. In a Benjamin Carson interview on June 2nd, 2008, he states, "She couldn't read, but we didn't know that, and she put a little check mark on them," meaning the papers, and acted like she was reading them. But she only had a 3rd grade education, so that's giving a little bit of where he came from. By the 6th grade, he was at the top of his class. The hunger and knowledge of reading these books took over him, and they actually became helpful. His teacher asked about rock samples. He had just read a book on rocks, so he was the only person in class that knew what the rock samples were. This was a turning point in his life. This is the first time the kids actually looked up to him. In high school, he graduated from Southwestern High. He was voted most likely to succeed by his classmates. And leading me to my next topic, he received a full scholarship to Yale. There's little information known about him at Yale, besides that he studied psychology and earned a bachelor's degree. He then went to medical school at the University of Michigan. Here, he began to study neuroscience and neurosurgery. He was told that his excellent hand-eye coordination and 3-dimensional reasoning skills would help him become a superior surgeon. With that being said, he took the advice and became a neurosurgeon. In 1977, Carson became the first African-American graduate to be accepted into the Johns Hopkins residency program in Baltimore. 8 years later, he was promoted to the Director of Pediatric Neuroscience. He was only 32 years old, the youngest ever to hold this position. Throughout his career, he received several accolades, according to the Roberts, the author of The Black Collegian. He received 3 honorary doctorates of science, the American Black Achievement Award from Ebony, the Paul Harris Fellow Award from the Rotary International, and in 2008, he received the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Within the field, his biggest accomplishment was successfully separating Siamese twins. They were craniopodous, which means they are connected by the head. He had a team of 70 surgeons, as you can see in this picture, specialists and assistants. It took them 5 months of preparation and actual dress rehearsals, and they used a 3D imaging technique which he himself developed in order to practice the operation virtually. The operation took 22 hours, and the end result was a success. Now I have a short video that I'd like to show you, just of Ben Carson.
Once I recognized that I had the ability to pretty much map out my own future based on the choices that I made and the degree of energy that I put into it, life was wonderful at that point. I used to hate my life up until that point, because I hated being poor, I hated the environment. But once I came to that realization, I didn't hate it anymore. It's sort of like if I said to you, put your foot in that ice bucket. You would hate to do that. But if you knew you could take it right back out, it wouldn't be such a chore. And so I saw my situation then as being temporary, knowing that I had full power to change it, and that completely changed my outlook. Once I recognized that...
Okay, now from that video, he says, put your foot in that ice bucket. By this, I feel he's referring to education. He says getting an education is like putting your foot in that bucket. Because it's not always something you want to do, but it's temporary, and it has a reward. Just as the reward would be reduced swelling, the reward is getting a job. And in conclusion, with the strong discipline from his mother early in life, Ben Carson was able to turn his life around. He became a successful student, giving him the opportunity to go to a prestigious college and then medical school. As a result of his hard work, he became one of the most famous neurosurgeons in the world. With Carson as an example, with devotion and education, one can turn their life around and make a positive impact on the world. And to wrap things up, if you would like to get to know more about Ben Carson, you can read it in his autobiography, Gifted Hands. Thank you.